So, welcome to Mason County. Sorry about the pictures. They say we gotta have one once in a while. I'll automatically apologize for me being in there. I understand that I have a face for radio and I live with that. With that being said, these are your three commissioners. The county is separated into three districts. I represent District 1, which is the North Mason area, Belfair, Allen, Tahuya, Duwato. Commissioner Drexler represents mainly the whole Shelton area. And Commissioner Schutte, who's fairly new to us, but I'll tell you what, he's been a blessing to have on board, not just for his hard work, but he brought, when he came here, a connection with the legislature that's been very beneficial to this county, and we're really leaning on him for this next year. But Commissioner Schutte represents everything else. He literally goes from the Thurston County line all the way back around to the other side of the county. So before we can talk about what's going on now with the future, we've had such a interesting last couple of years, we have to talk about the past a little bit. Everybody remembers the budget cuts in 2017. Well, what actually happened? Did we overspend? That isn't what occurred. What happened is we ended up in a situation where we had less revenue come in than we have historically ever had coming in. There were adjustments that had to be made. So instead of spending into our reserves, we kept our reserves, we ended up making some major cuts, $1.8 million halfway through that year. What happened? Timber taxes, we had a brand new lands commissioner who came in who was not very favorable about cutting timber. That year we lost about $500,000 in timber tax, just gone, just evaporates. We had some other, Swift and Certain, which when we did an expansion on the jail, we spent $1.5 million to expand the jail to go to 144 beds. At the time, it was told to us that if we did that, we were currently taking in $550,000 from Swift and Certain, that they would increase that to $700,000. But instead, when the time came, they chose to do away with the program, and all that money evaporated, disappeared. And we also had unused budget authority that historically for 10 years had never varied, cut in half that year, because we had basically been asking everybody to do more with less, year after year after year, and eventually comes around. Then we also had a lawsuit that we had to pay that was not covered by the insurance. So with that loss of revenue, you have to make choices. With that, we did our budget cuts. Literally, we had 16 people that we had to lay off. 12 was from support services, 4 from the other departments. No law enforcement officers were laid off, but we did have unfilled position and attrition that accounted for many different positions, and that's how we made our budget cuts. Because at the county, most of our money is spent in wages. That's just how it works. Total over 2 years is about $2 million that we have, or $3 million that we had to cut over a 2-year period. And then to make things worse, because of the budget crunch that we had, people don't realize the county actually does not get paid every week like everybody else. We get paid twice a year. So in between, we have our reserve, and you spend your reserve so you have cash flow. In the middle of that year, we got down to $175,000 in cash instead of 3.2, which is why we have that. Because of that, the commission decided we needed to increase that. So we made a motion to increase it overall over to $5 million. It'll take a few years to get there. But currently, we've already got that up to $4 million. So we're in a much safer position. Budget expectations for this year. Now that you heard all this, we actually are doing very well. We just got the news that it looks like we're going to be able to start doing business again as usual. Revenues become stable. Status quo budget to include wages and step increases looks like we're going to be able to pull that off this year. So otherwise, we're not looking to lay people off. We're looking to keep going with what we have and build with what we have. We've already restored 3 positions that had a major negative impact. For example, in the auditor's office, one of the people we had to cut there, without her, it made it impossible to get the checks out to all the other entities, such as the fire departments, the school districts. People don't realize the county does so many more things you can ever imagine. One of the things we do is we take all the money for everybody. We get the phone calls of people mad at us because we're charging too much for taxes, not realizing that's not us. We got the little piece that's in there. There's so much more. So with that, we've been able to do all this, and we're looking to be able to maintain status quo without a major tax increase or any layoffs or further attrition. We're maintaining with what we have. One of the big questions I have every day is always about our law enforcement and what we have on the street. You know, what is the reality of what we deal with? What you see here are numbers that are from the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs. This shows the population of our 7 comparable counties. If you'll notice, it goes all the way over to Skagit County, which has the most at 121. And you also have us down here at 60. We're the red one. So population-wise, with our comparables, that's where we sit. But when it comes to how many people we have employed in our sheriff's department, we're doing all right. If you notice, now granted, I would love to have 138. But right now, with the money we have, it's just not possible. But currently, we're running at 92. This was for 2017 from Waspik again. And checking this morning, we are currently actually at 93 in Mason County. So we are holding our own. And of those, about 45 are commissioned officers. Those are the ones that are the deputies that arrest you and the like. You also have, on top of that, you have corrections officers, and you also have people that are support staff. So with that being said, we're holding our own there as well. Understand that costs continue to go up, but a county is actually restricted to a 1% tax increase. People don't realize that. They just think we can do whatever we want to do. It doesn't work that way. Now, over the years, we have not taken and banked some of our capacity, so there's a possibility we can do more in certain areas, but we chose not to do that. Increases are around 4% a year. You know, your copier costs more, everything costs more. I've heard people talk about our wages. Our unions have been very kind to us, and I don't want to throw them under the bus. To give you an example, when we were going through some real tough times a few years back when we'd lost 2.2 million, just as I was coming in the door, the Teamsters Union negotiated a contract with the county at a 0.68% increase. Have you ever heard of the Teamsters Union doing that? They did that here. Then it was 1.2, and then the last couple of years they've had more, but it's nothing like you see everywhere else. They were at getting like 5%. That was the cost of living and an increase. So we've been pretty lucky here that they've been willing to work with us. But no matter how you look at it, it goes up 4%. Now that 1% tax increase, here's the beauty of it. That's only the property tax. Property tax accounts for less than 1/3 of our general fund. If there's a 1% increase, the county makes a grand total extra of about $90,000. So it's not as big as people would think. So what are we doing this next year? Well, we're continuing to establish a work plan with emphasis on our land use and development regulations, improvement to the codes to stimulate growth, moving from allowed to disallowed uses in the code. We're going to continue to work on perhaps creating a new jail and a justice facility, new roads for economic development. We're in the process where that's about to drop with some of those things we've been working on. We're about to get them back to start going out on them. And then, of course, the Belfair sewer. We're looking at a possible extension to Kitsap County, and again, we're leaning on Commissioner Schutte and his relationships as they're going forward. Hopefully, they're going to be trying to bring us money to be able to make that connection and get those up there, get some of that debt off of us. With that, there's been some great news, but before I even show you this, the new thing that's just occurred that I wasn't able to get the slide in here, we have something we've just moved into here at the county called SmartGov. It's a game changer for everything here. SmartGov will allow us to finally do permitting, a majority of it, or much of it, online. Maricopa County in Arizona, there was just an article on them where their permitting time has changed and been beneficial up to 70%. They have been able to get 95% less walk-ins. We're talking about a major game changer here that will shorten down the time and allow those developers to be able to do what they need to do. But the best part is, if you have 95% less people walking in, that means you have bodies and people that you can start to use money to do some of the other things and speed up some of those processes. Right here is our director over here. This is all his baby, but he's making a big difference in this county, and we're very thankful that he's brought this in. This goes live October 16th, of which I'm glad it's 16th. My birthday's the 15th. Could you imagine 30 people calling me pissed off because it's not working right on my birthday? So, but that's a big thing coming to our area. We also have so many other things that are happening. You all see around, you know about the different things with the schools. Shelton is in the city of Shelton, the school district, but we also, that impacts all of us. It's an investment in our whole community. You also have North Basin expansion, you have Pioneer, we have Taylor Shellfish expansions. You have 100 units that are trying to be opened of apartments in the North Mason area, in the Belfair area. You have a Mason Transit Authority that's building their parking right, that's spurring growth up there to where I'm in talks with other entities that are bringing jobs. One of them is going to bring 50 jobs. There's another we're talking about several hundred if we get lucky enough to get them, all for this community. This is the good news. Unemployment, 5.8%. Now, when I first came into office, 2013, it was 11.6. Now, in the nation, that sounds good, but that 5.8% is one of the best rates you've had in 30 years. There's only been a couple of dips for 1 month where it goes down lower than that a few times. 5.8% for us is incredible. Our building permits, residential is up 14.2%. Commercial is up 6%. Sales tax, remember, we don't get all our money from property tax. Sales tax and some of these others are where we get our revenue. Sales tax alone is up 7.1%, and it's been doing that now for the last couple of years. Home prices, according to the assessor this morning, home prices are up 10% in 1 year from last year at this time. This bottom one actually shows a combination of home prices and how many are sold. This is a real estate excise tax. That money is used for infrastructure, sewers, sidewalks, and the like. That money gets paid when homes sell. A percentage goes in there. That is up by 42%. That means that they are selling way more homes for way more money. And with that, our whole economy is changing. What is the county doing? If you look at this, you're going to be amazed. Think about it. The treasurer takes money in for everybody. School districts, fire departments, ports, you name it. We bring in the money, but here's the thing. They don't get a dime for doing it. See, we're the arm of the state. We're not a corporation like a city. We're the arm of the state. We do whatever they tell us to do, and then they don't like to pay us to do it. The auditor, and treasurer is so important because she also does the investments and everything else. Now let's look at the auditor, who is your elections. Everybody needs fair elections, without a doubt. Also recording of everything. But she's also the one, her department is the checks. You don't pay the sheriff deputy without the auditor's office. It's important that that money is always watched over and it goes directly out of there, and even for some of our ancillary districts that are out there. The coroner, we all know how important that is when the time comes. People don't realize when you're looking at the sheriff and everybody you touch in this county, if the sheriff touches them, it's a long line of costs that come with it. Because not only does the sheriff touch them, investigate them, and you're having people out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, if you do catch them and you do have to jail them, you have to hold them, you have to pay for their medical, you have to pay for all this, comes out of that jail. Then, when you hear the state versus, it's you versus. We have to pay for the prosecutor. And the prosecutor comes out of our budget to prosecute everybody that you see. Then, of course, with everybody you prosecute and bring in, you also have the county clerk. Then it goes down to the district courts where you have your judges, you have your court cases, you have your building, superior court. Then everybody that does, and after they've been released, they have a probation department. This is all through the county. Public defender. The worst part about this is everybody out of the people who we prosecute, 87% of them, they also pay to defend. So when you hear the state versus, it's you versus. County commissioner, human resource office. You have to have it for all the employees that we have to do their parks and trails, and we appreciate them. Facilities and grounds, GIS mapping, emergency management. We all know how important that is to have when something bad happens, but it has to exist all the time. Then you move into your building department, which everything for the future revolves around there, and also the protection of today, because you have the planning. Believe it or not, they're also fire marshal. Public health, you don't want to get sick, and code enforcement. The reason why I'm putting all that up there is to explain to you, we do all this, and it's not there, and we do it less with a budget on our general fund that is smaller than the North Mason School District. Everything you just saw is done with a smaller budget than North Mason School District. You have to increase our budget by 62% to do with the budget for the Shelton District. So, if you get a chance, thank a county employee when you get out there, because they're all doing stuff you have no idea about, saving you money. It always looks bad when it's talking politics, always the bad people, but I gotta tell you, there's so many things that are happening right now. This county has changed in such an incredible way that you're gonna be amazed in the next few years what they do. With that, thank you very much.